Hey guys, it's Dr. Stokes again at Doc Mom MD, and today I wanted to talk to you about one of my favorite topics, which is breastfeeding. I bet this is probably one of the biggest questions that I get asked about is how do I do it? How long can I last? Things are working, things are great. There are so many issues that arise in the office on breastfeeding, and I see so many extremes. I have some moms who wouldn't even consider breastfeeding, and then I have the other extreme who are the moms who refuse to give their babies anything other than breast milk, even if they need something else. So, breastfeeding is one of the most natural acts, or so we're told. Everybody knows the saying, breast is best. And the issue is, though, what if your body doesn't cooperate? The first few hours of life, and even the first few days or so, can be extremely difficult for parents who are getting ready to breastfeed. If a mom's milk doesn't come in, or if the baby doesn't latch appropriately, it can cause so much stress and anxiety. And then meanwhile, your pediatrician is probably talking to you about your baby's not gaining enough weight, or, oh, they're glowing like this shirt, which is why I wore this special color today for jaundice. All of those things are extremely concerning, but the first thing that I try to get parents to do is to just say, just breathe. If you are unable to breastfeed, whether for a short period or not at all, it should not be considered a maternal failure. We're all amazing moms, no matter what we decide to do, or no matter how our bodies cooperate. And just as a side note, of course, jump on to my YouTube channel at Dr. Tashana Stokes to watch my video about maternal guilt, because I promise, unfortunately, it starts from day one when the baby leaves the womb. So at the beginning, I asked parents, what are your breastfeeding goals? What is it that you want ultimately? What's working, what's not working? And then I want to try to help families to get to the place where there are benefits that they can see and they realize that it's worth the struggle if need be. Again, some parents have it very easy. So there are just 10 little tips. I could talk about breastfeeding all day, but there are 10 tips that I just want to share that can make breastfeeding a little bit easier. So I actually had to take some notes for this one. So the first one that I would say is to try to nurse and pump at the same time. I think this goes without saying, but nursing is when the baby feeds directly from the breast. Pumping is when you use whether a manual or an electric machine to be able to express milk to then offer to the baby. Because babies eat every hour to 2 hours at the beginning, if you're constantly nursing, constantly feeding, constantly pumping, you'll start to just feel like a machine, and you can lose the joy and the bonding experience that it can give you. So a lot of times I'll recommend that moms will do both. You just have to have yourself set up in a nice position so it makes it a little bit easier. So for example, if you use one of those hands-free expression bras where you can actually not hold the pump at the same time, because it's very challenging to hold the baby, hold the pump, and not waste milk everywhere, and to make sure the baby's head is supported. If you don't have one of those hands-free bras, you literally can just get one of the old sports bras in your closet, cut slits in it and actually put the pumping shield through there, and it can make it a lot easier to be able to pump and nurse and make your life a little bit easier and to cut down on some of that time. Secondly, if your baby is having a difficult time latching and is screaming like crazy, if you don't happen to have your own expressed milk that you can offer, it is not the worst thing to offer them a little bit of supplement. Now, moms feel very strongly about this, but, formula is one of those things that I feel like we've been blessed with. And so sometimes if you can just offer a little bit of formula or your own express milk, if you have it, offering that at the beginning can get them to kind of calm down a little bit. And then you can reattempt the latch so the baby's not just fighting you and you're trying to figure out the position and anxiety is rising while you're waiting for the latch to happen. And of course, as always, babies always latch better in the office. So when I'm helping a mom, it always seems to go a little bit smoother than it is when you're at home with the baby. One of the things that parents ask me a lot about is nipple confusion. And if you read a lot of articles or studies, you'll see there's conflicting research on that as well. If you don't want to use a bottle, it is okay to use a little syringe. It takes a little bit more time, and you can do like a syringe / finger feed in order to help the baby to get nourished and to gain that weight. The third thing is to consider a nipple shield, especially if this is your first time attempting to breastfeed. Oh my goodness, the pain can be very significant, especially if your baby doesn't have the perfect latch. And it can be really challenging because a lot of times you'll get that severe pain and some parents are just ready to give up. They don't want to continue going. They don't want to feel that. So the nipple shield can offer a little relief so your body can heal a little bit faster and you can still be able to feed and the baby will be able to get that rhythm going. The fourth thing is whether you are nursing or pumping, I definitely recommend using some type of nipple ointment. I honestly love the Gerber Nuke Gentle Moisturizing Balm. This is not sponsored, of course, but I love it because it looks like a little glue stick and the baby, it doesn't have a scent, so it doesn't prevent the baby from latching appropriately or getting confused. And it just provides that moisture so that you don't have so much damage to the nipples as well. The fifth thing that I always tell parents is show me what you got, pumping just so that you can see what you have. If you're seeing your pediatrician regularly, or if, I have some families who choose to have a scale at home for their babies, they can kind of tell how much the baby is transferring, or you see the output, the urine output, the stool output, and then your baby is getting enough. But especially if you don't have that significantly full feeling in the breast and the emptying feeling when the baby is done, it can be a little challenging to try to figure out how much you're making. So pumping to basically see how much is being transferred can often help to relieve a little bit of stress and anxiety. As a little side note, some parents worry about pumping too soon or waiting too late and then the baby doesn't take a bottle. Every situation is different. So you have to just consider issues of whether you want your baby to have a bottle ultimately, if they're feeding difficulties, if you have to go back to work. All those issues kind of can determine when's the best time to start pumping, if you have to at all. Number 6 is drink more water than you would like to look at. I am a firm believer in getting in those ounces every day, but specifically when you're breastfeeding, you want to be as hydrated as possible. Now, some people just don't like plain water. If you have to put a little bit of flavoring in there, perfectly fine. I definitely recommend not doing too much sugary juices and not too much caffeine, just so that your baby doesn't get jittery and so you're not holding on to all that unnecessary sugar in the body, especially as your hormones are regulating. Let's see. Number 7 is have a good support system. If you're having breastfeeding challenges and you're talking a lot to people, family, friends, etc., who never breastfed or don't have a desire to breastfeed or have their own personal issues with it, that's the last thing you need to hear when you're trying to develop a good rapport with your baby. This is the easiest way to encourage bonding, but sometimes it's easier to actually let it go when you're just stressed out about not having the support that you need for breastfeeding. I know it sounds funny to say don't stress. I have to kind of chuckle at that part, but we know that stress increases cortisol levels, and increased cortisol can actually decrease milk production. So keep some things to yourself. Don't share everything with people who are not on the same journey as you are. So number 8, supplements can be a really good assistance to milk production. Of course, a healthy, balanced diet, increased liquids, all great, but sometimes you need a little bit of support. It depends on your body and how your body responds to everything, but considering doing fenugreek, which is a natural supplement in the form of teas or cookies or just plain capsules, can be a really good tool to get the milk flowing. One of the bigger issues that parents complain of, though, is gassiness. So you have to be really careful with that. But that's one of the easier options that we consider. Number 9 would be consider lactation support and consultants early, especially if your baby refuses to latch. That first 5 days is almost vital to develop a really good pattern with breastfeeding. And if you need that support, you really want to make the investment and the time to have a good lactation consultant who can give you that support in the most comfortable environment as possible. And then number 10, I would say finally, just know when to throw your hands up. We all have plans of parenthood. We all have an idea of the way we want things to go. But just with everything else, everything is a learning adjustment. So this is just the beginning sometimes of how your little ones won't follow all the rules or all the plans that you have for them. So if nursing is stealing your joy and stressing you out and it's impacting your entire lifestyle and your household, then again, we thank God for the innovation of formula. It is not the enemy. It's definitely not the preference for a lot of moms who have the knowledge of the benefits of breastfeeding. But so there are so many factors that can impact that. I often say that moms are like the thermostats of the home. So if you are stressed and worried, it just trickles down to everything else. So if breastfeeding is not your calling, then there are many other options to choose from. In general, breastfeeding takes a good amount of work. It should be effortless, but sometimes it's just not. And so if things are not going the way that it should, please discuss all of those tips with your pediatrician, and also for that other recommendation on what formula may or may not be best based on your individual situation. If you know a mom who has issues with breastfeeding, you want to offer her that support as well. Sometimes we often forget once our children get a little bit older as to how challenging it could have been. And so offering them support would definitely help. If you know a mom who's actually breastfeeding currently or just needs that extra encouragement for what's coming up, share this video with them, and have them actually jump onto my channel for other tips that'll help to support them. And you could even join my Facebook contributor page on New Moms Rock. It's specifically for moms for babies between the ages of 0 and 2 years. There are so many issues that arise, and just to have that little extra support can always help them. You never know, if you post something on this page or on my contributor page, a lot of times I may actually be able to get back with you directly or even do a video to offer you some more support. Remember, moms, you've got this. It is nature, so just try to go with the flow. And now imagine when breastfeeding is coming to an end and it's time to wean. That will be another time for a new video. So let's get over this hurdle in motherhood and enjoy the process.